nothing all the time.
Like, what am I doing? I'm doing it for the show. Field of 68 till I die.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark show, the only place that you need to be for college hoops every single night.
All right, it is Monday night. Welcome to After Dark in the Field of 68, the best place to get your college hoops fix each and every night. We're on SiriusXM, ESPN Radio. We're on Twitter. And you need to also subscribe to the Field of 68 on YouTube. Tonight, we'll tell you what the Big Ten, Michigan, and Wisconsin got right and what they missed on when it came to the Juwan Howard incident on Sunday afternoon. I'm Jeff Goodman of Stadium. We got a great crew tonight. We got former Clemson shooter Terrence Oglesby. He's back. We've also got a first-timer and Nick Bahe, Fox's Nick Bahe coming on, and former Lincoln Southeast star Nick. I'm excited. Nick, for you to make your debut. Welcome. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. You know, let's start with obviously the big news. And it went down yesterday, obviously, with Juwan Howard hitting Joe Krabenhoff, the Wisconsin assistant coach, which kind of triggered a melee of sorts between the Wolverines and the Badgers. And today, the suspension was handed down. 5 games through the end of the regular season for Juwan Howard. Greg Gard gets a $10,000 fine. Joe Krabenhoff doesn't get anything. And the 3 players that were involved that were throwing punches all got 1 game. Moussa Diabate, Terrence Williams, and Jacoby Neath from Wisconsin. So, Tio, let me start with you in terms of your first reactions, whether or not Juwan Howard's suspension, the 5-gamer, was justified, or was it enough?
Here's my thing on the whole scenario. Like, I feel like Juwan and Gard both failed their kids, and they put those kids in bad positions. I think there was a failure in leadership, and Randolph Childress said it perfectly last night. They failed their kids and put them in a bad position. Now, that being said, 5 games for Juwan Howard, I thought you could have thrown in the postseason as well, because here's the deal, guys. You don't swing. There's a lot of things that happen during the course of a basketball game. The one rule that is hardly ever broken is punches being thrown. That can't happen. 5 games, and guys, I don't know what your all's wallet is like, but I think it equated to about 130 grand because they're not going to pay him. And then it was another 40 grand fine on top of that. 170 grand would hurt my feelings. That's a lot of money. Now, I know Juwan Howard's worth a lot of money.
He's made $100 million.
I understand that, but 170 grand is 170 grand. That's a lot of money.
It's like $10 to you.
To who?
To you. All right. You're that rich? I didn't know you had that much money, Tio.
You're thinking about the wrong wallet. No, but I think they got it right. Obviously, Gard probably could have gotten a 1 game, and Krabenhoff probably could have gotten a 1 game, but I think there was enough plausible deniability in the whole thing to where you see them trying to correct things. And I thought Gard, the first reaction that you have when a guy is upset coming out of the game, you grab him, you touch him on the chest, and you try to calm him down and explain things. That was what I thought was happening from the beginning. And while there could have been de-escalated fairly quickly, I'm pretty okay with the suspensions, and I hope that a lot of these actions don't follow the kids moving forward, because I feel like they were put in a bad spot to begin with.
So, Nick, it was a combination of the Big Ten working with these 2 schools, right? I mean, that's why it kind of took so long here. A lot of people were expecting it earlier today. I kind of got word earlier today that it was probably going to be 5 games for Juwan. I actually thought there might be a fine, but the fine, again, the $40,000 from the Big Ten plus the suspension. He is to have basically no contact in these 5 games. I think he could talk to the players, but he can't be involved in practice, film, anything with the team. What was your take on this whole? I haven't even heard from you on kind of what happened, your take overall on everything that happened, transpired. And again, was this enough for Juwan Howard, 5 games?
I'm fine with the 5 games amount. I think it's hard to put a number on it to where you satisfy people. You know, if it had been 2 games, if it had been the rest of the season, I honestly could have seen either of those into the spectrum. Obviously, he had to get suspended for some amount of time, and he did. I think what's been interesting to me, at least, is over the course of this 24-hour period, 36-hour period, is watching social media and watching people try to rationalize and make excuses for Juwan Howard. Greg Gard shouldn't have called the timeout. I mean, come on, guys. Joe Krabbenhoff shouldn't have walked into the situation. You know, the problem is handshake lines. That's the problem. It's like, come on.
Right.
There's one guy and one guy only that is at fault here. And that's Juwan Howard, because he swung, like Terrence said. And for me, I don't want to disagree with Terrence on this one. Like, in all reality, and I get it for the optics of it, in all reality, what did Greg Gard do to get a $10,000 fine?
Nothing. Really nothing. He put his hand out front of Juwan, which maybe in hindsight he should have said to Juwan, I'll call you later and explain. But at the time, he's thinking, I want to tell you now. Right. I want to tell you now why I called that timeout. And you're right. Like, he didn't really do anything. Everybody's saying he put hands on him. He didn't put hands on him. Give me a break.
Yeah. And so I think the reason he got the $10,000 fine is just the guilty by association thing. It's just, it's one of those things. The Big Ten probably looked at themselves and said, we can't let Greg Gard just walk away from this with nothing, which from that standpoint, I totally understand, like, how you had to make an example of that entire situation. So as I talk out of both sides of my mouth, like, I can wrap my mind around the $10,000 fine in that regard. I guess I was not surprised to see him not get any sort of suspension, talking about Greg Gard, because in all reality, I just don't really know what he did wrong in that entire situation. If we're just calling it for what it is, I don't know what he really did wrong.
Well, you're calling it because, again, Juwan Howard threw the punch or slap or mush is the word I keep hearing with it, that I'm trying to get accustomed to using, the mush.
The mush. The mush heard around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, the mush heard around the world. So he threw that, and ultimately that's why the other three players got suspended. Because if he doesn't do that, and again, he just keeps walking, or he nods his head and says, hey, I'm going to call you later, or meet me outside the locker room, even whatever it is to talk about it. But he didn't. Instead, and Krabbenhoff, I get it. Krabbenhoff was coming over, I think, largely to make sure that his standing up for his coach as much as anything else. That's what he was doing there. Krabbenhoff, he's 6'8". Greg Gard is not the most intimidating dude in the world. Juwan Howard is. Right. So I do think he was looking at him of Juwan Howard's, 6'10"? I don't know what Greg Gard is, but I know who I'm taking in a fight if they fight. That's for damn sure.
That's where the defending myself part is a little bit laughable too. Well, I was just defending myself. It's like, no, you weren't, Juwan. You were acting immature because you were getting your tail kicked. And here's the thing, that whole 10-second rule, I completely buy it, because whenever you call a timeout on offense and you're getting pressed, that clock resets. That's a huge part of this. And you don't want to set your kids up for failure, no matter if they're playing big minutes or not. So I'm kind of with that. But at the same time, you could still look back at Juwan Howard and be like, dude, why are you pressing? Just go ahead and wave that white flag. Let's get out of here. Now, I will say Gard probably has a responsibility to try to de-escalate a situation. And dude, read the room. Like, obviously Juwan's so pissed off, he starts walking back towards the back of the line. I haven't seen a head coach run back to the middle of the line probably ever. That's something that an angry player does, which is furthers my point about, hey, man, act a little bit more mature. And as far as the layup lines are concerned, guys, it's ridiculous. You shake hands. I played all over the world. You shake hands after the game. It doesn't matter if you're in Russia, Sweden, Spain, Argentina, America. You shake hands after the game. And when you get your butt beat, you do it then too. And that's what Michigan should have done. I don't blame the kids at all. All the blame should go to Juwan Howard, like you guys are saying.
You guys have played in a lot of AAU basketball. You played in college. T.O., you played overseas. I talked to Danny Ainge last night because I've known Danny for years. And there's a guy who obviously played, he coached, he was a GM, he was a broadcaster. So he's been in college games for years. He's got kids that have come up through the AAU circuit. I asked him, just because he's got a pretty good memory for this stuff, I said, do you ever remember anything like this? Because I don't. Even in AAU ball, that's the craziest part. And he said, no, I have never seen this in AAU ball, and I've seen some crazy ass shit. in AAU ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, have you
yeah.
either of you?
No.
Theo?
Mostly players, like players that
Yeah.
get into it.
Yes.
If a player has a screw loose, but never a coach, never a coach. And hey, that's coming from Danny Ainge. He used to get a couple scraps too now. So I think that's a big part. That was a tough sucker, but never a coach. That's the first time I've ever seen something like that. And at a program like Michigan, this is one of college basketball's flagship programs. Can't happen there, period.
So, all right, let me read.
Do you
Go
think
ahead, Nick.
the fact that on any level, the fact that Juwan Howard, this has happened before, he hasn't swung, but he got held back from Turgeon last year at the Big Ten tournament. Like, is there any sort of, I don't know, just the fact that he's not necessarily a repeat offender, but there's been some control issues in that?
No, I don't think that affected this at all. I think they knew they had to. I think Kevin Warren, especially the Big Ten commissioner, who had gotten a lot of crap for his missteps in football, I think he felt like, hey, I got to be tough here. And again, tough is relative, because I was on earlier with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker on Fox, and they both said to me, listen, I would have suspended him for the Big Ten tournament as well. And I think a lot of people felt that way. Juwan finally, after not apologizing post-game yesterday and nothing coming out this morning, they finally put a statement out, and I'm going to try to read it fairly quick, or at least some of it. After taking time to reflect on all that happened, I realized how unacceptable both my actions and words were and how they affected so many. I'm truly sorry. I'm offering my sincerest apologies to the players and their families, my staff, my family, and the Michigan fans around the world. I would like to personally apologize to Wisconsin assistant Joel, he meant Joe Krabenhoft, and it wasn't him. It was not Juwan Howard who wrote this press release, and his family too. Lastly, I speak a lot about being a Michigan man and representing the University of Michigan with class and pride. I did not do that, nor did I set the right example in the right way for my student athletes. I will learn from my mistake, and this mistake will never happen again. No excuses. What do you guys think, Nick, about the statement?
Statement was strong. Felt like it took a while to get it, but that's kind of grasping at reasons to try to still be upset about it. I thought the statement hit on all the right notes, showed at least remorse in reading it for the first time, because that's what was so interesting about the post-game press conferences. Yeah, you're still worked up about it, but he showed zero remorse, zero after the game. Seemed like, what's the big deal here? Right. So I thought the statement was fine. I thought it struck the right tone.
Yeah, Theo, what type of effect could this have on this Michigan team? You know, it's only a 1-game suspension. For again, you know, Diabate is a key piece. Terrence Williams is a piece. You know, you're without your head coach here for the next 5 games. You're a team that's fighting just to get in the NCAA tournament. Could this at all kickstart them and get these players a little bit more geared up to play with a little bit more fire and intensity, or no?
Well, here's the thing. I'm worried because now you're going into completely territory that you've never been into before. And if you look at their schedule coming up, it doesn't get easy. Now, you do have 4 home games in a row, but you're looking at Rutgers at home, Illinois, Michigan State, and Iowa. Like, that is a murderer's row of Big Ten teams. Every single one of them are going to be tough. And now you're dealing without a couple of guys that are big-time pieces to what you've been doing. Now, Moussa Diabate's been very up and down, but his up is really good whenever he's playing well, and he's a great addition. But these guys, who's going to be the standing? Is it going to be Sada? Who's going to be acting?
Phil Martelli. Phil Martelli.
Okay. So Martelli,
he's coached a million games.
Right? Yeah. So there's not a huge, there's no drop off, matter of fact. But at the same time, it's still different.
It's a different voice
as a player. Yeah. As a player, it's different hearing it from your assistant than it is hearing it from your head coach. I think Nick can vouch for that as well. But this is a tough slate. Your last 5 games and you're sitting on the bubble, plus you're missing guys for this next Rutgers team that's tough as nails. It's going to be an interesting 5-game stretch for sure, and they need as many as they can get.
Hey, Nick, how does this affect Juwan Howard and the perception of Juwan Howard going forward now? How will this impact him?
Well, I mean, I think trying to get myself in his head, I think the last thing you ever want in any profession, especially coaching, is for you to overthink who you are and being your authentic self. A part of coaching is that ability to make those split-second decisions, those comments, those messages, whatever, to your players, to your coaches, to anybody involved. And if all of a sudden that's getting put through a filter where you're starting to think about yourself from the outside looking in, well, okay, maybe this is how people view me a certain way now. I maybe need to, I really want to yell at Hunter Dickinson. I'm gonna cool off a little bit. I'm gonna yell at no, I need to slow down a little bit. So the only thing I'd be worried about is that if all of a sudden Juwan Howard stops being Juwan Howard, because I also think let's not just cast this guy off into being the worst dude in the world. He made a mistake. He got caught up in a moment. He's going to pay the price for it. He is paying the price for it. I think we've all met Juwan. He is an awesome dude, awesome guy. And so I think that would be my only thing is that I wonder how this is going to impact how he reacts on the sidelines, because I think he maybe feels like the eyes on him even more.
Do you think it impacts the way that parents are going to look or handlers are going to look at guys that he's recruiting? Because that's the first thing I thought. I was like, man, he really threw his players out to dry. And there wasn't a whole lot of forethought into what he was doing. If I'm looking
today,
at it
yes. Today, yes, Theo. I think, again, everything is, we make these kind of judgments right away. And listen, the only thing I'll say to that is Will Wade is still recruiting at a really high level. Okay.
Yep.
Does that prove my point?
Yep. It does.
Okay. All right. That's all I got to say. All right. Listen, when we come back from break, my daughter Talia committed to Indiana earlier today. She chose the Indiana Hoosiers. Well, I'm going to tell you why she might be having second thoughts when we come back from this break.
Clear for 90.
She's already in the portal. She's already in the portal.
Might be in the portal. That's right. That's right. All right. What do we got? Greg, you got some questions here? We got anything? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think this is it. You're not getting a third strike. Like, he does anything he's got to be very, very careful going forward. I don't think like second altercation. I don't think people are looking at the Turge one.
1 minute.
But I think this one unto itself, forget about what he did, running down and yelling at Mark Turgeon. This one unto itself is enough. So he's not going to get any leeway on the next one.
I'd be surprised if there is a next one.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, there's no way. He has reached the wit's end. This can't happen again.
Can't happen.
Another one from Jim Root. Damn, T.O. looking sharp.
30 seconds.
And then we got one more from Austin. What does San Francisco need to do to secure a spot in the NCAA tournament?
You look horrible, Jeff.
I look
You
terrific.
look absolutely.
I wore this just for you, T.O. Just for you, baby.
You look awful.
I wore it because of twofold. One, Michael Jordan and
10
LeBron,
seconds.
the embrace last night.
That was
was
cool.
sweet.
That was cool.
Seriously, that was really
5,
cool too, because Carolina is back, and we'll talk about that later in the show.
2, 1.
All right, welcome back to the Field of 68s After Dark. I am Jeff Goodman of Stadium. I'm joined by Terrence Oglesby and Nick Bahe of Fox Sports. And my daughter, Talia, today, she makes a huge decision. She did it on the Field of 68. She committed. She's not an athlete. Okay. She, for some reason, thinks she wants to do what I do, which I'm trying to convince her otherwise, but I haven't won that battle yet. And she chose Indiana. I'll say chose, not committed. And in her first day in feeling like an Indiana Hoosier, she sat down and she was like, Dad, you're watching the 7 o'clock Indiana, Ohio State, big game. I'm like, of course, me and you, we're going to do it. And with a minute left, Indiana's up 4, and they look like they are going to get a huge win in Columbus against a ranked Ohio State team. And the next thing you know, what happens? The bottom falls out, and they're going home with another loss, their 5th straight. And my poor daughter, Talia, she watched that one, and then she proceeded. She wanted to put herself through more agony. She turns on the Indiana women's game. They had been up 15. They blew it and they lost. So I don't know what she's thinking right now. If she's thinking maybe she's going to flip and pull like a football decommit and flip tomorrow and go to like Penn State. I'm worried. I'm worried tomorrow, Nick, that all of a sudden, like she's going to wake up and be like, I can't do this. I can't be an Indiana fan.
Weighs heavy on your heart. That's tough right away, right? You're highest of high, lowest of low right there. That's not good.
Yeah, right away. But man, I thought they were going to come back and beat Ohio State because they were down a good chunk. They start making some moves towards the basket. And then look, this Indiana team has been really inefficient offensively. And some of those guys that I thought were going to be better, like Xavier Johnson, who was a really good player at Pitt, comes over. Today, he ends up 3 of 12. Now, he does get to the line 10 times, but they just can't seem to find any consistent flow offensively outside of Trace Jackson Davis. And even today, Ohio State just did such a good job of pushing him out to about 15 or 16 feet. And then he's having to face up and operate that way. And they're shooting you're 6 of 19. You got to hit more shots. And to play against a team at Ohio State, those last 2 possessions in regulation, guys, you can't lose your guy for a wide open layup to tie the game. And if your coach,
especially when his name is EJ Liddell,
probably not him, right at the bucket. And if your coach is going to trust you enough to let you go at the last second and not call a timeout, you've got to try to get to the rim, try to make something happen. And especially if you're Xavier Johnson and 3-point shooting is not really your bag, man. Like you're a crafty power guard who can get to the rim. If you're going to be trusted with the ball in your hands at the end to make a play, you got to attack the rim.
So T.O. kind of alluded to it defensively. They didn't make a play. They've been pretty good defensively, and they have been pretty good this year.
Yep.
But I thought offensively was a bigger problem. The end of the game there, you got about 30 seconds left, and the shot that you took was a 3-pointer by a freshman, Tamar Bates, who shoots, I think, in the high 20s from 3 this year. To me, that their offense is hard to watch. And part of it is point guard play. And again, I know T.O. loves when I say point guard play, but I say it like 10 times every show because it's the difference maker for me. If you give them a high level point guard, I know they don't have perimeter shooting, but a high level point guard can rectify a lot of the issues. So Indiana, Nick, are they in trouble now? Because last year they felt like they were in the tournament and then the bottom fell out. Is this going to happen again in Bloomington?
Well, I mean, it certainly looks like they're headed that way. Like you said, they've lost 5 in a row, and their defense is really is good. I mean, they're really good on that end of the floor. And I think they're top 10 in effective field goal percentage. Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis are really good erasing things at the rim. It's hard to get anything easy outside of EJ Liddell's dunk late at the 10. But I think everything you're saying is what I'm concerned about. They have not scored more than 70 points in a game. They've only done it one time over the past month. And I thought the end of the game illustrated the challenges of when your go-to guy is a post player, how that can be problematic because you got to get them the ball. You could see, I thought it was telling, Chris Holtmann, who's Ohio State's best player? It's EJ Liddell. Clearly. Who did Chris Holtmann put the ball in his hands for the entire crunch time? Malachi Branham. Because it's just easier.
He can make a play.
To get it to a guard, you run him a high pick and roll or clear out a side or whatever. It's just easier for a guard to go make a play at the end of games than it is to try to run some cross screen, rub the guy out, throw it into Trace Jackson Davis, space the floor. And I think some people, you pointed it out with the shooting, but some people look at it and go, you know what? How come Purdue can do it, but Indiana can't do it? Well, Purdue has 6 dudes towing the arc that shoot 40% or better from 3. 6. Yeah. Indiana's got 1. So even when you do go to Trace Jackson Davis, a double's coming, they're plugging it up. And oftentimes when Trace Jackson Davis is spraying it out, the guys aren't making shots. So I just not totally sure what the answer is offensively right now, T.O. and Jeff.
There's not a ton of movement.
No.
I mean, especially when that ball gets in the post, there's not a whole lot of cutters. Those guys sit in his lap on the outside. And then I thought, Ohio State's not huge, but they have a bunch of big burly guys that can push you out a little bit further. And as soon as Trace Jackson Davis put the ball on the floor, they sent a second guy, and he wasn't putting passes on the money. And that makes a huge difference. And not only that, they weren't really ready to shoot. And Tamar Bates, it ended up being the last 3 or 4 minutes of regulation. Indiana had to score over high hands consistently. And that's so tough to do. There was no go-to offense, it seemed like. Now, hey, look, I'm not trying to second guess Woodson or whatever, but it seemed like there was a lot of contested one-on-one jump shots, especially Tamar Bates, who can do that. But obviously you want to get him ahead of steam towards the rim, at least so he can create something. But to go along with what you say, Nick, it's so difficult to get the big man the ball, and then have actions around it. It works so much better. And you alluded to him, Malachi Branham is a dude. And
Yes.
Goodness, I hope he stays, and he should stay. But Big Ten, and if Ohio State hangs around, you could see kind of a Johnny Davis type season next year for that young man. He is a
talented.
tough individual.
Really, he'll take a huge jump. All right, let me give you some numbers here for Indiana going into the game. They were 2-5 in quad 1, 3-4 quad 2, net 43, Ken Pom 45, BPI 37, Sagarin 32, KPI 58. You know, they could ill afford this one. I know they were like firmly in going into today, 10, 11. I think now they're probably in that first 4 range. And, you got, like you said, Maryland at home Thursday, Sunday at Minnesota. That one can go either way. I think you win Maryland at home, especially at Assembly Hall. Like, that's just such a tough place to play. I think you win that one. That Sunday at Minnesota is a huge one because then you get Rutgers at home. The last one of the year is at Purdue. You're not winning that one. So I think you have to win, to me, 2 of these last 4, and then probably win a game in the Big Ten tournament to feel pretty good about getting in at least first 4. I think if it's close, we saw it last year with the UCLA-Michigan State first 4 matchup. The NCAA gets it. The committee knows. You throw Indiana in there in the first 4 if it's close, and you figure out a way to justify it, even if they don't belong in there, because you're splitting hairs at that point between all those teams that are on the bubble. You can justify whatever the hell you want then.
Kind of the same as what you're wearing right now on your shirt. Like, do they deserve it? Probably not, but are they going to get
to
in?
that?
Absolutely. Are they going to get in? But no, but Fielding of 68, the show on this network, Field of 68 network, they have them in the play-in game on the 11 line, and they need everyone. I would say they need 2 of the last 4. Hopefully, if they get 3 of the last 1, I would feel pretty comfortable, even without a win in the Big Ten tournament. But this is a team, they're reeling. They got to figure it out quick. They haven't been able to score. They've been able to guard at a high level. The Big Ten, heaviest scouted league in the country, I think.
Yeah. I think
it's fair to say.
If they win 3, if they go 3 and 1 down the stretch, they're in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. If they win 3, they're honestly, they weren't supposed to win this one anyway tonight in Columbus. The thing that hurt was they had it. They win this one tonight, then, man, to me, you're almost breathing easy unless you go, you completely tank at the end of the year here, these last, 4 or 5 games, you're breathing easy. Now you're sweating it out a little bit where you've got to beat Maryland at home on Thursday. You've got to beat Rutgers at home next Wednesday. If you don't, again, you just don't want to put yourself in this position right now. So I think can't go winless in February. You can't go a whole month without winning. And that's what would happen if they didn't handle these next 2. Like, it's kind of crazy, especially after the start.
T.O., when you put it like that, they need to start winning some games. If you don't win a game in February, that's a problem.
I want to know how, my daughter, when she did her pros and cons of schools, one of the cons for Indiana she wrote down was the fans don't like Dad. So I said, I'm like, I'll flip it. Don't worry. They'll win enough. Well, what am I going to do if they don't win? How am I going to flip this fan base, guys? I'm more thinking about that than anything else as I go to bed tonight. How am I going to flip this fan base? Because she's worried about going on a campus. She's like, I don't really want to use my last name.
Jeff, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're not blaming Mike Woodson for this.
No.
So
but
that's why it's all
what I did when he got hired was I lumped him in with all the other former NBA players and coaches which I wrote something about 10 days ago, and it's pretty clear cut that most of these guys were not exactly successful. Like Juwan Howard is considered the best of the actives.
Sure.
And I gave him a B plus. That might have been a little generous. You know, to be honest, he's probably more of a B, but not one A minus, Nick, in any former or current coach who played at least 200 NBA games. It's crazy.
It's amazing how much you would think basketball is basketball, but the NBA game and the college game are totally different animals. Everything about it, from the 24-second shot clock to the illegal defense rule to really everything. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of what Indiana does feels NBA-ish down the stretch, where you throw it to Tim Duncan, you let him kind of operate, you read the defense, double comes, whatever. Like they do some NBA things that you usually see with good post players. But yeah, it's amazing though how different the two sports are. You would think it would translate always, and it doesn't necessarily.
Well, we are now live on Sirius XM, guys. ESPNU. Baylor ends up with a huge overtime win against Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I know that sounds crazy because Oklahoma State is ineligible for the NCAA tournament. So, but it is a huge win because Baylor, listen, they've been struggling a little bit here. And Scott Drew's got a team that I felt like they were 15-0 to start the season, and they've been up and down largely due to injuries.
Yes.
But when we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you why I still feel, and I'm still going to pick the Baylor Bears to go back to the Final Four this year.
Clear for 90.
All right. What do we got, Greg?
Jeff, we got a question from the chat wondering if you have any words for Mama Hog tonight.
Mama Hog, if you are awake, which I'm not sure you are, I want you to crack open another Coors Light. All right. I want to crack open another Coors Light and make a video for me. I miss you. I miss hearing your voice. I miss seeing your face. Get me a video tomorrow. Like, come on. What are you doing here? We need to communicate a little bit more, Mama Hog.
Mama Hog's living good right now. Arkansas is 10-4.
That's true.
In the
1
league.
minute.
Like Mama Hog's living good.
She's probably out of Coors Lights. She's been drinking celebratory Coors Lights with all these wins. She's out, Jeff. She hasn't got any.
She might. I might have to send her a case. Maybe she probably needs more than one case.
You're probably right with how they're playing.
Greg, what do we got?
Can Baylor get a number 1 seed in this year's NCAA tournament?
No, I don't think so. You guys think so?
I think it's too tough.
30
seconds. The other teams at the top are so good, and they're going to still struggle at the back end of the Big 12. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, Gonzaga's going to ease into a 1. We know that. I think you might be
20.
looking at 2 SEC teams in the 1 seed. And right now, Arizona in the Pac-12, they got a 1. So, Nick, is there room for Baylor?
10 seconds.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Kansas would be their best chance for the Big 12 to get a 1. So I still think the Jayhawks have a little bit of a chance there.
1.
All right, welcome back to After Dark in the Field of 68 here on Sirius XM Radio, ESPN. I'm Jeff Goodman of Stadium. I'm joined by Terrence Oglesby, former Clemson guard. I'm joined by former, I say Kansas and Creighton guard, Nick
That's
Bob.
good. That's good.
Is that fair?
Coach Self still acknowledges my existence. So when that happens, I get the former Jayhawk thing. Is that okay?
That must mean you give some money to the program, Nick, or something. That would be the only reason he would acknowledge your existence after you left him after 2 years.
I gave them tuition because I was a preferred walk-on. So how about that?
There you go. You gave him money. You did. You gave him money. All right. The Baylor Bears get an overtime win in Stillwater tonight. And again, you wouldn't think that this is a significant victory for Scott Drew, the defending national champs, going to Stillwater, ho-hum, beating a team that's ineligible for the NCAA tournament. This one is absolutely significant. They're still without LJ Cryer. Everyday John is done for the year in a serious knee injury. Adam Flagler missed last game, came back this game. and played fairly well. He had 29 points.
29.
He played great. Yeah, he played great. To me, he looked good 2 games ago when I saw him in Waco against Texas, and then he sat out last game probably to rest his injury a little bit. I was starting to get worried. I'm not that worried, guys. I'm not that worried as long as LJ Cryer can get healthy. If he can get healthy, I'll put this team, especially with Jeremy Sohan, the freshman, playing some 5. I love this team, T.O. I know without Everyday John, it worries me a little bit defensively against certain matchups, but they just got to get healthy, and I'm going to pick them to go back to the Final Four.
Well, how many massive guys are they really going to play against to where Sohan won't be able to match up? That's really the question. But if you don't play somebody from the Big Ten, are you really going to face a 5 guy that he won't be able to guard?
Good point.
That's the big thing. I think Sohan, as far as guarding a 5-man is concerned, he plenty of capability to do that. Now, Flo Thamba, he's going to have to play some more minutes, obviously. I'm not sure quite how many he did today, but he ended up with 8 and 7. He's a little bit more used, but it all comes down to their guards, guys. I mean, Matthew Meyer has been fine. He hasn't been as good as what a lot of people thought coming into the season. But once Baylor gets their guards back in order, they are so good at moving the basketball and attacking off the catch. And at Flagler was terrific tonight. If they didn't have him tonight knocking down shots, was he 7 of 13 from 3?
Yeah,
knocking down shots, and they were tough. Yeah, they were tough. Yeah. They get him and LJ Cryer coming back. That ball is going to start moving again, and guys are going to be able to do what they're good at, namely Meyer, because he's not somebody that's going to create by himself. He's somebody that's going to create off the catch. You saw a little bit of that tonight with Flagler coming back, but once that ball moves for Baylor, they can be really, really good. And I like it offensively too, with Sohan playing the 5 as well, because then you can go some more 5-out stuff, and then you can attack the rim that way.
Yeah, I worry about him a little bit, Nick, defensively, again, with Sohan. He's great offensively because he can space the floor. And, again, even a Big Ten team in the tournament, you're going to throw Kofi out there to guard him. I mean, we saw how that worked with like Cam Krautwig last year in the NCAA tournament. They're different players, but again, Sohan is able to space the floor. Are you buying Baylor still as a Final Four team, or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I'm still buying them. I think it is interesting, though, what a difference just making one run makes on, it felt like for a long time, Scott True didn't have the benefit of the doubt. And now listen to us. We're all they're going to be fine. It's just, and listen, he earned it. He's earned it over the course of time in terms of what he's done. But, with Sohan at the 5, they are probably going to be, they can't get the wrong draw. If they get the wrong somebody in the second weekend that really wants to throw it in, could hurt them. But I also think some teams sacrifice their offense to try to exploit a perceived weakness, and all of a sudden they're playing out of pocket in terms of what they want to do to try to throw it inside. I don't know. I still feel like at full strength, big if, obviously they're not going to get Everyday John back. Their half-court defense, who's best half-court defense in the country is is it Texas Tech?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Is Baylor in the
step down? No, they're a step down now. Okay. Without Everyday John, they're you watch Flo tonight. It's a big difference. It's a big difference the way Everyday John, to me, can move his feet. He's more athletic. He's more active. He plays harder. To me, he's the guy you want on the floor at the end of the game. And now you might have a tired Flo Thamba too at the end of the game. Tonight he played 33 minutes. That's a lot of minutes for him.
Right. I'm still a believer. And do you guys think any sort of getting the monkey off their back of the success they had last year will allow them? They do got a handful of guys that cut down nets a year ago.
Right.
Do you buy into that at all? That they're going to be a little more comfortable than maybe some other teams on a variety of levels?
Terrence? I think that plays into it, but I think this is a second weekend team. I'm not sure this is a Final Four team, and it has mostly to do with health concerns. I think that Shamwa Chachua, he is so valuable at the end of games because of his toughness, and you guys know, and you've been to several tournaments, Nick, as a player, and I'm sure going as well. It gets so much more physical, and he is the ultimate physical guy that can play through all that contact, especially on the defensive end, and grab that tough rebound. and he is the epitome of a toughness, team first guy. I think that loss was a lot bigger than people realize because it's huge, but he was also the lead communicator on defense too. I went to watch them at the Battle for Atlantis. Whenever they went down and won that guy's the one chirping the whole time. He's calling out ball screen coverages. He's calling out where guys are at. Like other guys do it too because they're so well current. Hey, we've talked about it. Scotch Drew is 1A right now. In my mind, he's 1A, but they're dealing with injuries, and that one is significant in my opinion.
Listen, I'm not saying they can win 6 straight. Okay. I don't think they can win 6 straight without Everyday John. I think they can win 4 straight. And a lot of it is the culture and the chemistry. Being around, I was there in the preseason. I was there again all of last weekend in Waco for that Texas game. And like Kendall Brown, like I'm in love with Kendall Brown. He might be my favorite player in the entire country. And nobody talks about him. Why? Because he's all about team. Right. That dude could want and take 15, 18 shots a game. If he, again, and none of them have to be threes. Like the dude can just get to the basket. He's great in transition. He makes every right pass. He didn't do much tonight, but he guards, plays hard, doesn't complain, never hangs his head, never on the bench wanting more. Like whatever it is, he's doing the right things. The key for me now is, again, Cryer getting healthy and James Akinjo getting his head and his shot back. Like that's the thing. You could tell it's in Akinjo's head right now with his perimeter shot. He was so good early in the year. And Sean Miller, who we work with, he coached him last year, and he said he has a tendency to kind of go through these phases, these funks a little bit. And right now, that's kind of the problem. He's going through one of those funks. All right.
He's been asked to do so much more lately too.
Sure.
With all the injuries, like they put the ball in his hands and they're running a lot more ISO ball screen sets as opposed to moving it and then running into ball screens. But now because they've been shorthanded in the backcourt, it's set pick and roll offense. And it's been difficult for them.
Listen, let's get to it. Let's get to the team that I have waited 42 minutes to taunt you with, Terrence Oglesby. And for those listening on Sirius right now, I am wearing a Michael Jordan North Carolina shirt because the North Carolina Tar Heels are back, baby. Their defense is not back. It's here for the first time all year. They've guarded. Their defense is here. They were great in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech in a huge game, and they beat a mediocre, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, Louisville team at home in Chapel Hill tonight. All right, they're not back, but they are 20-8. They are 12-5, albeit in a crappy ACC this year. And Hubert just said tonight, I'm just going with my dudes. I'm going with my 5 guys. I'm going to play them all long minutes. Caleb Love played all 40, and it was balanced scoring among those 5, and they got nothing out of their bench. Like I think they got 2 points out of their bench, and it came from I don't even know who. Puff Johnson. I don't know.
Puff Johnson.
He hit 2 free throws. It wasn't even a field goal. He just hit 2 free throws.
I mean, listen, they finally got their quad win. So now they're feeling good. They're puffing out their chest like I am right now, and they're feeling good about themselves. And I don't know. I mean, listen, all I'll say is these 5 guys, if you said to another, listen, here's my example. If you said to Chris Holtman right now, or you guys, you pick talent, not all the intangibles. Do you want Carolina's starting 5 or do you want Ohio State starting 5? Terrence, who are you taking?
Oh, you're taking Carolina starting 5.
Nick?
There's just been so much transition there. I'll tell you who played really well tonight. Your fellow Midwest guy, Brady Manick. I mean, his ability, he's shown a lot of ability, man. He's knocking down threes, sure, but he's putting it on the floor a little bit. He's been a really nice addition. Obviously, they lose Dawson Garcia for the remainder of the season. They're shorthanded, and their young guys probably aren't ready yet. Puff Johnson's probably not ready. I would have expected Kerwin Walton to be a little bit more of a factor, but apparently he just doesn't guard well enough to stay on the floor. And he shot like 45% from 3 last year. Like for some reason, like I didn't play any defense, Nick, but I shot a good percentage from 3. They didn't have a choice, right? So I was curious.
You would have fit right in on this Carolina team.
Now I would have been sitting beside Kerwin, apparently.
Yes, you would have.
That would have been the issue, but this is a talented roster. They've got guys up and down, like Armando Bacot, even though he had an off game because he was playing against a beast in Sidney Curry, who might be the strongest person I've seen since Trevor Booker. Goodness me, that dude is a beast. Bacot couldn't move him, which is a first in my book for this season. Right. But they just have that 5 guys is really talented. RJ Davis is coming along. He hit some big shots. It's just a matter of defensively, are they going to be able to compete? And I thought Louisville, it just seemed like they were ready to hand North Carolina the game so many times, and North Carolina just wouldn't take it. And eventually the great Carolina teams would just rip it out of people's hands and be like, hey, this game's going to get from 5 to 15 in a hurry. And I'm not sure this team has that capability.
I wish I could have been in the Dean Dome tonight to feel if is there nervous energy in there with the team? It feels like it a little bit, where every time there was a lot of moans and groans anytime Louisville would like T.O. said, felt like Louisville was trying to hand them the game. North Carolina wouldn't take it. Louisville would make a shot, a lot of moans and groans. But I think the thing that's interesting for me, and some of this is maybe, Dawson Garcia's away from the team. Right. They've been a little banged up, is the identity of Carolina has been really, it was always tempo and offensive rebounding under Roy. Really, they kind of became synonymous with just kicking your ass on the
two bigs, two post bigs,
killing you on the glass.
Yes.
You look right now, and again, I don't know if some of this is because of player availability. They're 129th in offensive rebound percentage. Let me just go over, these are the last 6 years where they ranked on offensive rebound percentage. 1st, 12th, 16th, 3rd, 1st, 3rd, 5th.
Wow.
So it's just a weird, I think it's Hubert Davis, because you would figure, he was on Roy's staff. You figured it'd be kind of like a part of the reason you want to keep him on is like you keep the seamless transition of the identity and the machine in place, but the offensive rebounding factor hasn't been there. And so it puts a lot of pressure on your defense, which they haven't been overly disruptive in terms of forcing turnovers. Their defense has been better the last couple of games, like you pointed out, Jeff. Yep. But it's an interesting team to watch when you juxtapose it with what they've looked like over the last handful of years with Roy, considering the fact that it's, Roy's top guy now running the show in Hubert Davis.
That was one of the things I was most worried about whenever they brought Brady Manick and Dawson Garcia in, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to open up the floor. You completely understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to open up the floor for RJ Davis and Caleb Love by bringing shooters in, but then you're taking away your best strength to try to fill the hole of your biggest weakness.
Right.
And what happens is they haven't been able to rely on, hey, sometimes our offense isn't working. This Carolina break isn't working. We can still overwhelm you. This Carolina team doesn't overwhelm you. And that's where the struggles have come from.
So Saturday at NC State, like this is, if NC State, think about this, they're horrible right now, right? They're 11-16.
Yeah.
But if you're an NC State fan, you're saying to yourself, if we can knock Carolina out of the NCAA tournament, you know what? This year, I'll sign up for it. I'll sign up right now. I'm okay if we suck. As long as they don't make the tournament, I feel pretty good. That is their Super Bowl on Saturday in Raleigh. It's going to be an absolute war. And I think it's going to show how tough Carolina is mentally. Have they gotten tougher? Again, they've been better defensively. We've seen it the last 2 games, but it's up here for them. Mentally tough. We saw it at Mohegan Sun earlier this year. Listen, I called them out and said they're soft. Yeah. And they proved me right for most of the year. They have been soft, both mentally and physically. But I think they have an opportunity here again. The bubble is so bad that if they win these last couple of games at NC State, Monday against Syracuse at home, then you're playing with house money to me at Duke. Your numbers are going to go up anyway. You don't need to win that game. Just don't get blown out in that game. If you win these other 2 and then win a game in the ACC tournament, you're absolutely in the field at the end of the day. Is that a year, if they get in and they sneak in and Hubert Davis has an NCAA tournament berth next to his name,
yep,
does that give him, Nick, a little bit of a cushion if he doesn't make the tournament like next year?
Yes. I mean, Carolina is different from a lot of programs, and they don't just expect to make the tournament; they expect to be there in the Final Four more often than not. I also think it's just like anything else. Like when you have one of the all-time great coaches on your sidelines, you get spoiled, where you think it's just a given. And listen, John Calipari's had years. They lost to Robert Morris in the NIT. It's not, unless basically if you're not named Bill Self, like it's not just a given for a lot of these. Look at Indiana, like they've had to learn the hard way a little bit that it's not necessarily just a given because the name on the front of your jersey that you are going to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. But to answer your question, yes, I mean I think just being able to have a tournament berth under your belt gives you a little breathing room. So yeah, I think it makes a difference, but I also think they've been spoiled with old Roy on the sideline there for quite some time.
All right, Field of 68 after dark. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about the player that we trust the most, each of us, come March.
Clear for 90.
You know what's nuts is like 12-5 in the ACC. Any other year is like wow.
Oh, you'd be like smooth. Like you'd be like you might be a
sweat.
4 seed.
Yeah, there's no sweat whatsoever if you're 12-5 in the ACC. This year, bubble.
Right.
Greg, what do we got?
Play a quick game of Pick'em. Who you got tomorrow, Villanova or UConn?
I'm going Nova. I'm going Nova.
You got UConn, T.O.?
No, I got no. I don't think UConn has enough offense to keep up with
our
Villanova.
Good friends at Bet Rivers say UConn -2, a 2-point favorite in that game.
1 minute.
Game number 2, Michigan State at Iowa. Bet Rivers has Iowa -6.5. Who wins that game?
Nick?
I think Iowa wins that game. They both want to play fast a little bit. I think Iowa wins.
Give me Michigan State outright.
Ooh, taking the money line. I like it.
I like Michigan State, man. I just think they can guard, and I think Keegan Murray might have some trouble.
30 seconds.
Here's what I like now. And I said this to Doster, and he thought I was nuts the other day. But I said, even though Michigan State lost that game, I think they won that game because
20.
They got Tyson Walker. They got his confidence going after that game. He had 20 points. He played with a confidence that I hadn't seen since really early this year, maybe even back when he played at Northeastern. So to me,
5.
I don't know if it was such a bad loss
2.
looking at it.
1.
All right, Jeff Goodman back here, Field of 68 after dark, joined by Terrence Oglesby, former Clemson guard, Nick Bahe of Fox Sports. And we are going to change gears a little bit. And we are going to talk about the player. In March, it's always about a player, right? Steph Curry, whoever it is, that guy who can carry a team and be the guy that captivates the nation. So, Terrence Oglesby, we'll start with you on this. You got to pick one player right now that you trust the most, ball in their hands to just make plays and carry their team come March and April. Who is it?
I mean, is there another answer besides Johnny Davis? I mean, is there possibly another answer beside him? Whether it's off the dribble, you put it in his hands at the end of the game. He's so talented and he can get where he wants off the dribble. Plus, look at what Wisconsin would be without that young man. Like, probably an NIT team. Truth be told, he is that special with the ball in his hands, and he doesn't need it all the time. And yet here he is averaging over 25 points a game against Power 6 competition or what have you. Like, that dude is really, really good. Honorable mention for me, Alondas Williams makes some big time plays at the end of games too. Wake Forest transfer from Oklahoma. He's been terrific, but you need bigger guards. In my opinion, you need bigger guards who can put it on the deck and make something happen and make the pass. Both of those guys can do that, and both of those guys can score as well.
Nick?
Yeah, it's quite, you made quite the case right there, T.O. That was good. I'm going to go with a guy that I'm not sure that can even dunk it, and that's Colin Gillespie.
I like that.
Because I think it's not only about the player, but it's also about their situation. And I'm not sure there's a team in the country that knows who they are and what they're trying to do on every possession better than Villanova does. And there's not a player that exemplifies trying to get that done better than Colin Gillespie does. Can post you up. He can come off ball screens. He's a good passer. He's patient. The biggest concern, like Tio pointed out, is probably the fact, can he elevate over people and score like we saw Juzang and Jaquez do in their run to the Final Four a year ago? But I'm going to give some love to Mr. Jalen Brunson, Ryan Arcidiacono Jr., Colin Gillespie.
Listen, I can't argue with that. I think I got a better one, but I can't argue with Colin Gillespie. And actually, I talked to Jalen Brunson. I'm going to write a story on Gillespie here, hopefully this week, if I can get to it, if nothing else crazy happens to sidetrack me like the Juwan Howard situation. But Brunson, I mean, he said, he's like, this dude, he goes, he never backed down from me. You know, when he was a freshman and he came in, he was like, I kept kicking his ass. And Jay Wright told me the same thing last week after the Providence game. He's like, I kept kicking his ass. And this dude never asked to be switched off me. Ever. He kept coming. So you could see he was a Villanova type guy. And then again, he's gotten better with the freedom, with the ball in his hands a lot more over the last couple of years. All right. I got a better one than both you guys. Like, I can't believe neither one of you went here. I have the guy. I mean, like, Johnny Davis is great, but like, his team's not good enough to you. Colin Gillespie's great, but like, he's kind of vanilla.
I swear to you, if you say Kirk Kriisa, I swear
I'm not going to get the headband. I promise.
I know he's your guy, but like, we're getting out of hand here.
He did. By the way, they got into dirtbags last night. No problem.
Good for him.
So I'm hoping, or 2 nights ago, whatever it was. I can't remember the days. 2 nights ago. How did you pass on Jaden Ivey?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you two knuckleheads? Come on.
Yeah,
Jaden Ivey is the most unstoppable player in college basketball. Getting downhill. Like, who can stop Jaden Ivey? Seriously, when he wants to. Now, he's out of control at times.
I'm ready to counter, but keep going. I'm ready to
And in the half court, I know he can make some poor decisions at times, but man, I'm going to give you a little bit of time here. Jaden Ivey is absolutely a beast. You have 20 seconds to counter, Tia. 20 seconds.
Take away his right hand in a half court. When you're playing in the NCAA tournament, that ball's going to slow down. At least you hope it does, especially towards the end of the game. And we're talking towards the end of the game. You got to be able to score off the dribble a little bit if you're not given your first option. Jaden Ivey's first option is all right hand and elevate over the top. If you take that away, you can get some things, because then he's going to have to make decisions. Johnny Davis can make decisions.
He can, but he doesn't have Travion Williams and Zach Edey around him. That's the difference. I think Jaden Ivey will be in a position in the Sweet 16, in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four. And when the game is on the line, I think Matt Painter is going to be smart enough to get Jaden Ivey the basketball. All right, boys, listen, thanks to Terrence Oglesby. I'm Jeff Goodman from Stadium. Thanks to Nick Bob for making his first appearance, and a great one on After Dark. All right. Now we go to questions, Nick.
Let's do it.
I think I have to do I don't even have the reads, Greg. So Doster's going to yell at me because I don't have them.
Got a question.
So
Jeff, are you telling me that you
questions,
don't
and then
have the NordVPN read right now?
What's better than
What's better than peace of mind, Jeff? What's better than peace of mind?
Greg can probably read them because he's probably got them in front of him. And I'm going to get yelled at. I might get fired tonight. I might actually, everybody in the chat, Doster might fire me tonight. So if I get fired, will you guys hopefully come to my aid and protect me from that evil human being, Robert Doster?
I got you.
Let's get to some questions first, and then we can figure out all right. But all right, what do we got? I'm looking in the chat here. Didn't Johnny Davis drop 37 in West Lafayette? He did. Listen, I got Johnny Davis as the National Player of the Year front runner. I'm going to pick him probably to win Player of the Year. I just think in the tournament, I think in the tournament, it's a lot easier to game plan for one dude, right? Especially to me, like in that Sweet 16 round when you've got multiple days, you got really good teams at that point, really good coaches. Again, I think Wisconsin, everybody's going to pick them as the upset team. Providence and Wisconsin are going to be the two teams, right, Nick, that everybody kind of just picks. They're going to be that kind of cool pick to get upset early.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people. I mean, you even see what Providence did at Butler. I don't know how they won that game. I have no idea how they found a way to win that game. But the thing, Providence more often than not has found a way to win those games, and that, I guess at some point that's got to count for something. But yeah, it's Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis, you find out what's weird is you feel like late in games, more often than not, you're shooting a tough two.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so then maybe you need to reverse engineer this question of like, think about what types of shots you get late in an NCAA tournament game and then go, well, who is the best at making that shot? And it's honestly probably Johnny Davis one. And then you could probably go to Mick Cronin's boys. Those two guys
exactly right. Exactly.
Those two guys make tough twos at a high level as well.
Yep. And that's been my argument against UCLA all year. You get like Jeff will vouch for this. Like UCLA relies so much on tough twos to win games. And to go along with what you're saying, those are the shots that you're going to get at the end of the games because everything else is shut down. So you rely on individual playmaking and you got to have guys that can do multiple things. I'm not sure Jaden Ivey can do that, but I really think that Johnny Davis can do that. And I forgot all about UCLA. Like Jaime Jaquez, he's got to be up there too as far as isolation scoring.
Right.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
Right.
What else we got? We got some other questions in the chat. Come on, let's go. Everybody watching, let's come up with something good. Our good question.
Come on now.
I'm gonna hit Nick.
Sorry.
Wait, I want to hit Nick first. My question would be: give me your best Bill Self story.
My best Bill Self story. Oh my gosh. Man, I'm racking my brain because this dude. He's a character. Like he plays the all shucks guy. Yes. he is anything but that. I think one of my it's one of my favorite stories from him was the first time he gave me the ice cream sundae analogy when he was trying to tell the team about being unselfish, where he's in front of the team and he's like, guys, I want you to imagine the most beautiful ice cream sundae you've ever seen in your life. It's got strawberry, vanilla, chocolate. It's got whipped cream, sprinkles, cherries. It's got all that stuff. And now imagine you put one little piece of dog shit. How appetizing is that sundae? We're all like, not very appetizing. He's like, don't be the piece of shit. Let's go to practice. And we're like, okay, great. We're like, all right. Don't be a piece of dog poop. That's the Bill Self lesson of the day.
I like that one.
He reminded me, Tio, you were there, right? Weren't you there when we went in preseason this year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You came in and story years ago, I interviewed Andrew Wiggins and sat with him for about a half an hour. And I'm not kidding. Andrew Wiggins never looked up from the floor. He never looked at me the whole time. So within the scope of the story, one of the things that I was already skeptical about Andrew Wiggins from watching him in AAU ball for years he played up and down to the level of his competition. Right. I didn't buy that he was going to be this NBA superstar. And so I wrote within the story that he never made eye contact with me for 30 minutes. Bill, to this day, rips on me for it, kills me. Eye contact. He told this whole team, didn't he, Tio? When I was walking out that night, he's like, make sure you make eye contact with
whatever you do. Just look Goodman in the eyes.
Right, look Goodman in the eyes. Yeah. So it was.
I'll tell you how charming that dude is just from afar. Because like Nick, I've been doing this for this is my second year doing media. Last year, I just did a bunch of Clemson, like local stuff and podcasts. This is all I've been doing. Well, I go up to Champions Classic and we go to that hotel where the funny thing is is the next day we kind of chop it up and everybody talks. I mostly listen. Well, the next day I'm sitting about 4 rows up. I'm sitting beside Mike DeCourcy and Norlander, and I look down and they're going through warmups. And I'm just like, oh, okay, we're just kind of getting ready for it. And I look down and Bill Self turns around and points at me and he just waves at me. And you got to keep in mind, like, I'm a new guy. Like, I didn't know Bill Self. Like, I would have never known him. And had I not met him that before, like, I'm looking around, like, I'm like, no, he's like, you, like, I thought it said a lot about you said the all shucks guy and how smart he is with the media. Like, he made sure that I knew that he saw me.
Yes.
Which to me, as a new guy just starting to do that, I was like, man, that's pretty cool for him.
Made your day, right?
Like,
yeah.
Absolutely did.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, I committed to Roy. I had committed to be a preferred walk-on for Roy.
Really?
And then Roy leaves, and then Bill Self comes in, and this was late in the process. And the first time I met Coach Self, I mean, he charmed my dad, he charmed my mom, he charmed me. 20 minutes, I was like, I'm all in on this guy. This guy. This is my guy. And I think the thing with Coach Self was a couple years ago when he went into the Naismith Hall of Fame, I got a letter in the mail from the University of Kansas, from Bill Self, inviting me to go to his Hall of Fame induction. He invited me, a dude that basically, I sat at the end of the bench, transferred out of his program, will go to Creighton, and this dude invites me to come. And so, of course, I got to go to Springfield, and I'm there. He sees me in the little event before, and then we go to the after party as well. He comes, talks to me. He remembers my uncle's names, my cousin. As your uncle, this. It's like this dude, not only is he a good basketball coach, he is elite with people, too.
Yeah, he is. No doubt. I compare Self and Izzo. I think they're similar in a ton of ways. The old school approach, but being able to put their arm around guys. Like their practices are similar. They're going to go at dudes. They're going to MF them at times, but then they're going to put their arm around them afterwards. So that dude knows he's got my back. And there's a lot of coaches that don't do both. They'll MF you.
Right.
And they'll go at you. And then once the practice is over, they're not thinking that way. They're not thinking, of kind of what they have to do.
Right.
All right. So somebody hit in the chat that will I go if Texas Tech wins it or something? Will I shotgun a beer? Will you promise us, Red Raiders, the next time you're in Lubbock, you'll come through and shotgun a beer? So I didn't do it this past time I was down there because, frankly, it was before the game. I told Tio this. I was worried. I don't need video before the game of me getting shit-faced. And number two was I hadn't shotgunned a beer in like 30 years. So I was like, I don't know. All right, here's what you got, Texas Tech fans. And we can clip this for tomorrow and put it out there for Texas Tech fans. If you guys get to the Final Four in New Orleans, I promise you, I will shotgun a beer with all you dudes, with all you Texas Tech fans on Bourbon Street.
And ladies. There'll be ladies. There'll be Texas Tech ladies shotgun beers too.
Texas Tech ladies too. Absolutely. Everybody. Texas Tech fans, if you get to New Orleans, I'm in. Absolutely. Listen, I want those fans. Those fans are terrific. I want them in New Orleans. Like the best, all right, let's go through it, guys. Of the teams that are in the equation right now for the Final Four, what would be the craziest 4 fan bases that are realistic to go to a Final Four in New Orleans? What would make Bourbon Street beyond insane?
Does it have to be like absolute contender? Because I feel like I want to throw Mama Hog's group in.
That's
there
fine.
too.
Yeah, they're in the mix. Yeah, I mean, we get Mama Hog there. Yeah, I'm okay. Arkansas fans are elite level of insanity. So yes, let's put Arkansas in there. Who else? To me, Kentucky fans have to be in there.
Yeah, Kentucky fan. Let's throw Mama Hog Arkansas in there.
Texas Tech.
Tech.
Who's the 4th? I got my 4th.
Hey, I had to go full like mallard, bald head, duck TO at Providence because that fan base was nuts too. And they might bring the whole city down there. I'm not throwing them in there for sure because there's a lot of really good ones, but that has to be in consideration. That was
Nick.
exciting.
You got any? Who do you got instead of I got somebody instead of Providence.
I did radio in Omaha for a decade, which is the home of the College World Series. And for a decade, whenever LSU's baseball team would come to Omaha, these people went crazy. So I'd have to assume LSU fans would tear New Orleans up.
They would, but I'll give you a better one for hoop fans. A better fan base that is just out of their friggin' minds.
Give it to me.
Illinois. Illinois is out of their minds crazy. They would rip that city to shred. Like if we had Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Illinois, that city would be beyond on fire. It would be so damn good. And that's kind of what you need for a Final Four. You need to listen. I was there last year when there were no fans for the most part in Indy. You know, I felt bad saying it, but I said it enough. Like the atmosphere was terrible. I mean, it was great that the games were there, but man, it is going to be so much fun this year to have a sense of normalcy for the in New Orleans of all places. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do. I always say this. I'm older now, guys. The last time I was in New Orleans, I don't know how many years ago it was. I was in my 40s. Like, I just turned 50. I'm not sure I can go as hard now as I've done the last few in New Orleans. I mean, I've gone till, 4 or 5 in the morning and was able to get up and do it again and again and again. I'm older. I don't know if I can pull it every night.
I get horrendous hangovers. You got to throw Auburn in the mix.
I did think about Auburn. I thought about Auburn. Illinois and Auburn are close. And Providence is close. I don't think Providence can get to the Final Four. I really don't. I don't think they can get there. And I know Providence fans are going to kill me for it, but I don't think they can get there.
Well, here's what you have to have. I was actually going to make this point when we were talking about the all-stars on each team, Johnny Davis and Jaden Ivey. I'm not sure Providence has that guy that can make something happen. Like Jared Bynum's been that guy for them, and Al Durham has been really good at the end of games. Yeah. But body size is really significant in the tournament. I think that could be their hang up, when they were playing in a Sweet 16 game or around a 32 game, something like that.
Last time I was in New Orleans was my junior year at Creighton. We lost in the NCAA tournament, first round. We lost to Nevada. Ramon Sessions, JaVale McGee, they were really good. We lose to Nevada, and Coach Altman let us kind of, hey, fellas, go out. Don't do anything stupid. You got to be back. Curfew was like midnight. I rolled in at like 12:20. So I was like 15, 20 minutes late. I thought Coach Altman was going to kill me the next morning.
Nobody there.
I thought I was good. I walk onto our floor. I thought I was in the clear. And I wasn't like egregiously late. Like I was legitimately only like 15, 20 minutes late. Coach Altman was not happy with me in the morning. So I got to get over my last time I was in New Orleans, I got yelled at by Dana Altman. I got to get over that
I can't imagine like getting yelled at by Dana Altman is nearly as intimidating as getting yelled at by Bill Self.
They'll both get after you pretty good.
Altman looks like he's not going to yell at you, but he's going to be really disappointed.
He was a JUCO coach though. He was a JUCO guy back in the day. So listen, Dana's, I still say this, maybe I'm crazy and tell me, Nick, if I'm way off base here, but if something does happen with Fred Hoiberg, I've said this before, he was damn close to going to Nebraska the last time.
Yep.
And I think if the job pops this year and Oregon doesn't make the NCAA tournament and somehow they're able to move on from Fred Hoiberg and his $18.5 million and fire him for cause because of some of the other stuff that, we're hearing might be going on within the program, I'm not saying I would bet on it, but it wouldn't. How far does Dana Altman's family live?
Wilbur, Nebraska. I mean, it's an hour max.
Right.
So it's close. I mean, he's a Nebraska dude, I've always felt like every time that job's popped open, Dana Altman should have been the first call every time. I mean, when it was Barry Collier.
He was the last time. He was ahead of Hoiberg, by the way. He was damn close to taking. Really
yeah,
close.
Yeah, well, because he all of a sudden he got a contract extension in the middle of.
Well, Phil Knight wasn't letting that happen.
No.
Come on.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he would. I don't know if he'd take the job. I mean, I know if I'm Nebraska, I've been saying it if I'm Nebraska, I'm making that guy tell me no every time.
Every time. And at some point, he may want to go back home. That's all I'm saying is at some point, he may have had it with all the Nike BS and dealing with all that, especially with NIL. Like some people can look at it as a positive. Okay. But I'm not sure Dana Altman with NIL. I don't know. I don't know how much he's going to want to deal with all that. I almost feel like it might be easier for him, in Nebraska.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying some of this stuff, but the other thing to think about is his best friend in the world is Bruce Rasmussen. That's his best friend in the world.
Yes.
Bruce Rasmussen just retired as the Creighton athletic director. So if there ever was going to be some I don't want to go do that to Bruce, you know what I mean? Because Creighton and Nebraska, big rivals, in the state. So I guess maybe that's another thing. Who knows? I mean, I've like I said, you always got to make that guy tell you no. In my opinion, I think that guy's. I mean, I'm biased.
Oh, so good, so good.
Amazing.
All right, well, let's get to 3 cheers. And I don't know if we prepped you on 3 cheers, Nick.
Yeah.
But 3 cheers is basically we each toast to somebody of that night. Now, Sean Miller still hasn't figured this out. He's done the show 8 times, and he's still toasting somebody that might have played like last Thursday or something like that. He'll get it by the end of the year, and we're approaching here. In the last 6 weeks, I think Sean will get it. We'll start
I don't
with
want him
T.O.
to get it. I think it's better if Sean doesn't get it. I think
It
Sean,
kind of
after
is.
we made it this far, Sean should just cheers to here's
Whatever.
to Jalen Suggs hitting the half quarter last year.
All right, T.O., who you got tonight?
I'm going Mr. Flagler for Baylor. He's been in and out of the lineup.
Stole mine.
Dealing with, sorry about that.
Right.
I tend to do that. I've been doing it with Doster. I'd steal all of his whatever. But man, dealing with nagging knee injuries, shot the heck out of the ball tonight, and they needed him. Went for a big 29 in a tough place to play. T-Boone Pickens, he's helped that Oklahoma State area out. And obviously Baylor's still rebounding, but they need guys like him to step up, and he sure did tonight. So cheers to Adam Flagler.
All right. I got my high noon. Am I the only one drinking alcohol? I got a high noon for the occasion today.
Oh, I didn't get the memo.
I'm a big fan of these high noons.
There you go.
They're good. All right, Nick, who do you got?
I am going to cheers to the Mariano Rivera of the Ohio State Buckeyes tonight. Malachi
And you stole
Branham.
mine. You stole mine. God damn,
yeah.
I got nothing left. What are you leaving me?
Puff Johnson, his 2 free throws for Carolina.
All right, I'm toasting the Malachi first, and then I got to figure out somebody to go with here. Hold on.
He was big. Malachi Branham was awesome. I mean,
yes,
awesome
so good.
down the stretch for Ohio State. 27 points. I think he had 17 in the second half in overtime.
I feel like you need to find somebody for Carolina after wearing that shirt.
Yeah, come on.
I think you're right. And you know what? I think I'm going to give it to Caleb Love, who played all 40 minutes tonight. And he wasn't great. He was 1 for 7 from 3, but I can't. He had 7 turnovers. I can't give it to Caleb Love.
All those like sighs of disappointment that's usually Caleb Love.
Yeah,
I hate to be mean, but that's usually where it comes from because he has some nonsense turnovers.
Man, all right. Give me 30 seconds here. I got to find somebody to toast to. You know what? Screw it. I'm toasting my daughter.
Hey, yeah, there you go. That's a great one.
Here we go.
I like
toasting
that
my
one.
daughter, Talia. She picked Indiana. I am a proud father today. So
Cheers.
let's hope it all works out in Indiana.
Cheers.
Let's hope they win some fucking games in Bloomington. All right. There we go. All right. Listen, thanks for joining us, everybody. Field is 68 after dark. Terrence Oglesby. Nick, thanks, man. I hope you had fun. We had fun with you. And hopefully we'll do it again.